All right. Welcome, everyone. Another episode of the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss podcast. Today we have Dee Dee with us, a graduate from the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss program. And super delighted to have you here, Dee Dee. And super grateful to all my clients who are willing to come on and share their stories. We know that it always makes a remarkable difference for people that can relate to your personal story, versus just mine. So thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Awesome. Perfect. So let's just dive in. So would love to hear, before, like, what led you to hypnosis for permanent weight loss?
I was just a little curious, to be real honest. I don't know what kind of made me take a look. I've known some people who've done some of the go to a hypnosis class to quit smoking, or go to a big room and there's 50 people there. And I've heard some people who say, oh, it worked or it didn't work. And so I think that's why I just jumped on the call, just to see what it was all about. And I was really intrigued on the call because it was nothing like that. It didn't sound like it was, what I had anyone share with me for experiences. And I was already kind of on a journey in my life, and I thought that this would be a good complement to help me with that. And I had the feeling, and it ended up right, that it was going to be about a lot more than just weight loss. And so I think that's what really kind of drove me to make the decision to become a part.
That's amazing. Yeah. So that curiosity and I'm sure everyone's wondering, like, okay, so if it's not just the hypnosis, like what made the conversation different? Like what was the so much more that you found once you were in the program?
Well, like I said, I think it started right from that very first kind of introductory call, and it was talking about so much more in my life and about where I wanted to be and what I could be. And, for many of us, there's a lot of obstacles that get into the way of being the person we want to be. And I think sometimes weight is one of them. And I think it's just a symptom of other things that are going on that can, for some of us, it's eating, for others, it's other things. And it's just one thing that we often let hold us back in life from really achieving the things we want to achieve. And for me, the program was so much more, so much more. It just touched on so many things in my life that became just a minor piece. It did help me understand a few things related to where I'd been, and why I probably had struggled with some weight issues through my later life. It wasn't something that I had struggled with my whole life, so I was able to understand that, but it went way beyond that. For me, it was a lot of very eye-opening revelations, and it just helped me through a lot of decisions. I think it came into my life, curiosity, but do I think somebody brought that into my life at the time when I needed it? I think it was brought there, and I had a lot of things that I was working through, and it helped me work through a lot of things that had nothing to do with just my weight, but just where I wanted to get in life.
That's awesome. Yeah. And without, sharing anything you don't want to share, is there any kind of example you could give?
Sure. And initially a lot of the pieces had to do, my story really kind of started with the journey I talked about with related to really health, not weight. It really is about health for me, and weight is just one of the tools to get there. And just before the program started, I had lost my husband just about 2 years before that. And I had always had my family history was where I really believed, I knew in my mind that I was going to be the one who was going to pass early. And my husband had longevity in his family, and we used to kind of joke about it with our kids that, maybe they had a chance because I didn't have that. So I lived my life up until that point, with a real short shelf life. And I didn't really have to be healthy because I didn't plan on living very long. And I know for a lot of people that hear that, that sounds ominous and maybe kind of dark, but it wasn't for me. It was just who I was. And so I really didn't need to be healthy, and I didn't need to have, it didn't matter if the weight came, or, once in a while I'd think about, should I shed it? I don't really care because, I want to do these things. And so I was at a point where I realized after he passed earlier than my goal had been to make it to 56 in my life, and he passed at 55. And then I realized that I needed to live, and to live, I needed to get healthy. And that started because, I thought I needed to live for my kids, which I do. They're grown. But I realized probably about the time I joined this program, I realized that I needed to live for me too. And
Wow.
so that was really what brought me there. And that's why I think I had probably someone helping bring it in my life at the right time.
Yeah, I remember having that conversation, like maybe your ex-husband. Your deceased husband brought this to you as well. And I love that. Faith-filled or not, I believe in it, because every program that's landed on my lap, or every coach or every guide or every, when the student's ready, the teacher appears, like it's always been aligned that way. And I know we had conversations about that, and I really appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of what takes us here is, there are a lot of clients that sign up, there is grief, in the background of somebody that they lost or whatever, that has, these major life events that has us, kind of look at life or health in a completely different way. Right. And then something you were saying earlier around, just the beliefs, you're talking about, for some people that might sound morbid, but it's like, that's, if you always had a story, right, in your family that we never lived past 56 or whatever, then it's just like, that's just the belief that we have, and it's the way that we, live our lives from that point when that happens. So yeah, it doesn't sound strange at all. Go ahead.
We talk about beliefs in the program a lot, right?
Talk about beliefs in the program a lot. Yep. The beliefs that got us to where we are today, right, are the same beliefs that we need to be willing to let go of in order to get to where it is that we want to be later. So yeah, the way that you showed up, it was kind of fun to watch you kind of open up like a flower. Like at first it was just like, okay, cool. Like this woman Dee Dee's in the program, and like she's coming on the calls, and then all of a sudden, like, I just remember, it was like, whoa, there's Dee Dee, like she's here, like she's bringing it, and getting those nice things for yourself that you deserve. So happy that you did it. Good. And I think the other thing that you mentioned that I thought was powerful was just around the just the fact that there's all those different aspects, that actually come out, that we think that it is. So it's like our brains, for anyone watching that's kind of like wondering about what Dee Dee was saying, is like, we think, and everyone who's watching is going to be like, no, really, I want to lose weight. Like we think that weight loss is really what we want. Like we think that it is 100%. But when we, like the call that Dee Dee's talking about, of like, okay, well, let's look at it. Like imagine that you did have the weight loss happen. And for anyone watching, it's like, you can do that now, right? Like imagine that you actually, right, it was solved. You didn't have to think about food, body, and weight anymore. Like, what would you want to do? Right. And then always what's underneath that is like, I would be in an amazing relationship again, or I would go for that next job offering, or I would, like be more social and hang out with friends. And it's like, so many people live their life in this, like someday, one day of like, first I lose the weight, and then everything's going to open up and I'm going to make things happen. Right. And our philosophy is like, if you actually do the work to like get past the fears or let go of, like, it's like we're using the weight loss as a distraction or a way to procrastinate doing the thing that scares us actually the most.
Yep.
Right. And for some of us, it's like actually feeling the pain if we have grief in the background, or, actually putting ourselves out there, or like being with the negative thoughts and feelings about like, I feel fat today, like no one's going to like me anymore. Like, right. Like I don't belong here. Like all of these other subconscious things that are in the background. So like to really challenge you to break through that so that you can get different results. And then funnily enough, the weight loss gets to happen as a result of doing that.
Yep.
So yeah, really cool. Awesome. And then what would you say, like, was one of the most powerful breakthroughs that you had for yourself?
Well, I think there were several that I actually had, but there were several decisions and things that were in my life that I was surprised at how much the program helped me with. And one of them was just a decision about my living arrangements and where and how I was going to live my life going forward. Now that I had decided that I actually wanted to have a life, and it was something that I'd been struggling with for about 2 years, really heavily for about a year. And I knew I had known what I wanted for a long time, but I had a lot of difficulty being able to take action on that. And there were several different calls or different things that helped me along with being able to move along making that decision. So it wasn't just one, it was several of the things in the follow-up calls, but there was a call with you where we did some belief things, as we did a few of the different tools. And you were always, I don't even know if you know how impactful some of them were, but during the course of that time in the program, I came to be able to make the decision and actually take action on something that was very, very difficult for me to do. And I'm still working through it a little bit because I haven't gotten to the end result. I'm still in the process, but I have never in my life worked through something so challenging. And when I've come out the other side, I've been at peace with it. So it's only been a few weeks that I've been out of the program, so I am still in the process of getting to the resolution that I want. But I don't have angst over it anymore. I don't have stress. And I can be at peace with it, even when it's challenging or people are not supportive to me. And so those are the kind of things too that I know a lot of times are triggers for people for whatever their issues are. And a lot of times the people are going to be here, it's going to be food. And so I removed the triggers and the desire, to fill that with something. And most times maybe that was food. It's gone because I don't have those anymore.
Wow. Yeah, I really got that. Yep. When talking about like permanent weight loss, and I did the interview with the gastric bypass surgeon who actually like 100% believes that everyone needs to do this work before even getting to consider a surgery like that. Because, when it comes to things like communication, right? Like communicating your truth, or for a lot of people, setting boundaries with family members, right? Like, as I know, as you're working through and all these types of things, right? It's like that pent up energy when we're not taking that action, we're not dealing with something powerfully, creates that stress within our body that has us be crunching on chips all night, or right, procrastinating in other ways, but usually with, alcohol or food to just like numb away that pain, versus just being able to be like, hey, this is what's stressing me out today. And like, let's get you the tools to actually like move through that powerfully so that that craving can go away, as well as the tools, right? The emotional mastery stuff to actually, and then what happens is once people get that experience, like I know you did, Dee Dee, on some of our calls of like, wow, I can get that kind of relief, right? Just by doing this 10-minute thing, that quickly, like then it becomes we're able to kind of, I feel like there's like a awareness in the brain that's like, oh wow, like nothing, now that I know that that was where that energy came from, I would always want to do that, versus eating chips doesn't do it anymore, right? We all get to this point when I talk to people, it's just like, yeah, like binging out on chips or ice cream, like it used to really like check all the boxes for me, but like now it's not working anymore. Right. Like, it's like, well, now no matter how much I eat, I'm still not satisfied. And it's like, okay, this is a sign that we actually need to deal with whatever is really in the way, to actually make moves in your life so that it's not doing that. And I'm so delighted to hear that it's just not even like the go-to thing anymore. That's our whole thing, is to create those new habits and patterns. So
yeah.
way to go.
And I have an end site for that. So I know you know what I'm talking about. And I've got a couple weeks and everything's going to be right where I want it. For at least that part of my life.
That's amazing, Dee Dee. Congratulations. Yep. It's just like one step at a time. It's like sometimes things take time to actually get to the goal we want to get to, and so, how can we support ourselves, right, every step of the way if we don't get those instantaneous, right, results that we're looking for? Yeah. And not gain 100 pounds along the way is the goal, right? Because life is stressful for sure. Awesome. Perfect. And then, yeah, so I get that that's where you are now, right? Sounds like really not going for food, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Because I've had people notice, and this was one thing I kind of talked about too through the program, and it surprised me a little bit, but I do have some people notice that I'm not like my portions now too. I just eat till I'm full. And one thing I used to always do, like if you had something that was really good and I liked the taste, then I always wanted, well, I got to go have more. Like I wouldn't even, now I recognize I can eat and I can enjoy it. And I'm always like, well, let me see if I need more. So I can be intentional about it and still enjoy, which was something I know that you talk about. It's not a diet. And I don't really feel like I've ever been on a diet. I'm a little different than a lot of the people in the program. I hadn't yo-yoed and been on diets. I just had never cared. So I was so
because you were going to die at 56, right? So
I haven't done that. I just let myself over time continue to, mine was a slow and steady weight gain, and it was never an attempt to try to lose that. And once I changed and took control of some of those things, I really do eat anything that I want. I just don't want a lot of the things a lot of times, and I'm just intentional thinking about what and how much, and eat till I'm full, and then I stop.
It's amazing. And would you say that that's because of the permission that you can have it and those foods aren't bad and wrong? Like what made that happen?
Yeah, I think that definitely helps. Maybe a little less for me because I wasn't always kind of on the yo-yo diet piece. But knowing that I can have something, I choose not to a lot, yes. but if I want something, I have it. So I think if I were on a diet, when does it end?
Yeah, exactly. Right. When does it end?
And then what happens?
All bets are off, and we eat way too much of it. And it's that, pattern that doesn't work. Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. It's exactly what it is. Yeah. When you give yourself permission and you don't make it wrong, it's just like, okay, I'll have it when I want it. And I think that the decision-making process, right, in general, like when we have all these shoulds and like, but I shouldn't, and like all that stuff that's but it's like, you actually genuinely want to have that piece of cake that was brought into work, or right. It's just like the pain of actually not saying yes to something that authentically you want to have is what makes it so much of like, when you do actually crack, then you go back for more and more and more, versus I'm just a woman who, when she wants something, I say yes to it. And when I don't want something, I say no to it, and like really exercising that muscle. For me, it's been like very empowering of just being like, right. I dated someone in the past, and they said, the thing I like about you the most is I never know what answer you're going to give. like, you're not always a yes for like cake, or you're not always a yes for going for a walk, or you're not like, so like, I never know what I'm going to get. Like, and same thing one time, my mom, or I think my mom commented, and she was like, Leslie, I noticed that every time that I offer you something like a glass of wine or, whatever, like you pause and, and like before you answer. Right. And it's like, it's an automatic thing now. That was never how it used to be. It used to be like, oh, someone's offering me wine. Yes. And like the whole bottle, please. Right. It was just like this like snap thing. But
and
now
fast.
because and fast. Yep. And a little bit scary because like we'd overdo it, and then that's where the addict thoughts or feelings could come in. But now it's just, because of doing everything that I teach you guys to do, it's just like quick body scan. Like, do I actually want that wine? And it's like, actually, I want a glass of water, and just like saying yes to whatever is true in that moment. But it was definitely, the journey that we take you guys on to get to that space. So it sounds like you're in that space.
Yeah. And, is it called good to bad? What is the one?
Oh, like to dislike.
Like to dislike. So that definitely still is with me because chocolate was always my downfall. And I do have it once in a while, but not very often. And I just don't want it. That definitely, I'll tell you, I didn't really know if I was believing that was going to work. And there was a call where we did it, and I had to leave the call right at the end because I do have a very busy schedule. And I was just telling you before this started that as challenging as it was oftentimes to make the calls or to do the work, I tried and I would have to leave, but I always tried to jump on and do what I could. That call I had to leave before it was over. So I was pretty close to it. And I was like, eh. And then we did it together because I told you I didn't get to finish it. Darn if it didn't work.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yep. Bringing in the neuro-linguistic programming, right? The hypnosis, recently just getting even more clear on our program. It's like the mixture of the emotional mastery tools, right? Including the NLP tools like to dislike, the hypnosis, and also the personalized coaching, really being like, the secret sauce, the hypnosis for permanent weight loss method, and something that I don't know any other program that does that, that actually goes into the feelings, and helps people with the actual tools to change what's going on in the unconscious mind to make it a permanent shift, so yay for that. And thanks for being someone who came in curious and showed up and did the work and got the results, and now being willing to share it as you continue on your journey. So like I was saying before, I'd like you back. So tell us if that's the case.
You never know.
You never know, Dee Dee. I love it. Awesome. Perfect. So if anyone out there is kind of like on the fence or, or just one final word that you would like to give them based on your experience.
I never expected it to be as life-changing as it was. And so I could only wish this for anyone that's out there. And if you're thinking about it, I know it is a commitment. There's a time commitment, there's a financial commitment, there's an emotional commitment. But who better to invest in than yourself?
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Perfect. So if you're ready for that, you know where to find us, Facebook, or if you're listening to the podcast, just listen to the prompts. And Dee Dee, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.